Jay here, Stretford, Paddock. This is the Spurs preview. Joining me, as always, is my good friend and confidant, Joe Smith. Are you excited for what is one of the big games in English football?
Very excited. Big game, big match, big chance to settle some old scores, I'd say.
Yeah? Get into these Spurs North London gits.
Nice. Really heavy stuff.
Yes, heavy, insulting stuff. We will be speaking to a Spurs fan from the Last Word on Spurs podcast a little bit later on. And don't forget as well, this preview is sponsored by BetMates. We'll be getting into that as well a little bit later on. First of all, let's talk about one of my favourite topics, Marcus Rashford. Yes, Within Shaw's finest. Was a bit of a talking point against Newcastle because he missed that chance at the end that would have won the game. Probably going to start this game, innit? I think Eriksen Hag said he had to sort of mix it up a bit because there's 4 games in 9 days or whatever it is, and he rested Marcus Rashford. What have you made of Rashford this season? Because he's won Player of the Month for September, which seems to cause a meltdown from everyone who couldn't do the maths and work out that Erling Haaland actually scored the same amount of goals as Marcus Rashford against inferior opposition. He's also been back amongst the goals. He scored, I think, 3 in the Premier League, is it? And a couple in Europe as well. Hasn't all been plain sailing. No, I'm not going to say. He had that goal disallowed against Everton, which was a bit unlucky. He missed that chance against Newcastle, which would have won us the game. What have you made of Marcus this season so far, my friend?
Much better.
Yep.
Much better than it was last year. And he seemed the sort of player that, everyone was talking about. Have injuries ruined him? Has Solskjaer ruined him? Will he ever be the player that we saw a couple of seasons ago? And I think that, to me now, what we're seeing from Marcus Rashford isn't maybe quite what we've seen out of him at his best, but is very close. This is roughly as good as Marcus Rashford has been for Man United. I think that he can be involved in games a little bit more, but like the game against Ammonia and the game against Newcastle, against Ammonia, he created so many more chances than everyone else. He's having shot after shot after shot. He's, making things for himself, knocking it past a player, putting it across the goalkeeper, good saves, some bad finishing from Rashford. But that's what he does. He's not the most clinical finisher in the world. He is one of those players that the longer he has to wait for the ball or the longer he's got in front of the goalkeeper, the less likely he is to put that finish away. But he's a kind of player that he's at his best when he's involved a lot. When he's involved in front of goal a lot. And I think against Newcastle, again, he comes on as sub and is immediately the most dangerous player on the pitch. He completed more dribbles and dribble past players more than anyone else in the whole game, and he only played 20 minutes. That chance at the end, obviously, you've got to put that in, and that's one of his weaknesses. His finishing and his heading in particular isn't good enough to be a top-class number 9. It just isn't. Awful. But what Marcus Rashford is a very direct, very energetic, high-intensity player, and we are seeing all of those things from him at the moment. He's getting goals, he's getting assists, he's the most productive player in the squad, and I think the fact that when he's not playing, we look far less likely to score. Yes, he'll miss chances. Yes, he'll be frustrating. Yes, he'll run into his defender and get tackled, and he'll do that a lot, but he's still a top player, and I think we're so close to seeing the sort of Marcus Rashford that we've seen for 4 of the last 5 years, rather than the one we saw last year, and I'm really happy that his form has improved so much.
I feel relieved watching Marcus Rashford this season, because I love Marcus, but last season he was terrible. And me and you were talking on Paddock live a few months ago actually, and I said I don't even think he needs a good season, he needs a good start to the season. I think if he gets to Christmas and he's been as bad as he was under Ralph Rangnick, Eriksen Hag, who doesn't owe Marcus Rashford anything, he's going to go, I can't rely on this kid, and he's going to move him on, or he's just, he's not going to get that new deal or whatever. But I've been very impressed. I still think, there are slight flaws to his game, but also it's not entirely Marcus Rashford's fault, because yes, he should have scored that late goal against Newcastle, but he's given 20 minutes. We had 70 minutes before he entered the pitch to win that game, to get a goal, and we didn't. So it's a bit hard to blame it all on Marcus Rashford. I think, like you say, you know what you're getting with him, and he does seem a lot more confident. He's running at defenders, and I don't mind if Marcus Rashford he's having shots and, he's taking him a few shots to get a goal, or he's running a defender and sometimes he's getting tackled. I just want to see him doing those things. I want to see him trying to affect the game, because I felt under Ralph Rangnick and towards the end of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, he just seemed the shadow of his former self. He didn't want to run at players. He was playing it safe all the time, and I don't want a player in the Manchester United team like Marcus Rashford, who we know what he's capable of. I don't want him just turning and facing his own goal and playing it back to Luke Shaw or whoever. I want him running. And so what if he runs at a defender 5 times and 3 times he gets tackled? The times he doesn't, when he gets away, that can affect the game. So yeah, I've been pleased with Marcus Rashford. I still think we can see more from him, and hopefully we'll see a bit more from him against Spurs as well, because he has got a, I think he scored against them at their ground in last season, I believe. I think so. Sorry, go on.
But it's so good to be able to sort of critique some of the nuances of his game again, rather than it just being like everything he does is awful. Yeah. Which is, no offense, but that's how bad he was last season.
He was terrible.
Yeah, now we can go, you need to improve your heading.
Yeah.
You need to be a little bit more consistent when you're in front of goal. But other than that, he's doing so many good things now, which he just wasn't doing last year. And like I said, I'm relieved almost.
I also think that the argument that I was seeing about, you know what, if we kept running on, he scores that header at the end. That's not how life and the world works. No. Like, if Marcus Rashford doesn't come on and Ronaldo stays on, time isn't the same.
No.
So it's not just you've replaced Marcus with Ronnie at the end of that move.
No.
Everything's been different.
Yeah.
So maybe Ronnie gets a late goal, but he had 70 minutes to get a goal. You could argue he was a bit unlucky with the second one, or one of the ones that was disallowed. But that argument is so flawed, I don't know where to start with it. Anyway, we'll move on. Erik ten Hag and Antonio Conte.
Yeah.
Now, at one point, it looked like Ten Hag was heading to Spurs and Conte was heading to Manchester United. That's not how it's transpired. This is their first Premier League game against each other. What have you made of the sort of the job Conte's been doing compared with Ten Hag? Do you think are you happy with the way things worked out in terms of who got who?
I'm massively happy.
Yep.
I think Tottenham fans would be happy as well, because what they need, let's be honest, Tottenham haven't been a force in the Premier League since the 50s. Do you know what I mean? This isn't a team that is used to winning trophy after trophy. This isn't a team that's trying to get back to somewhere.
I'd argue you're wrong there, Joe. I'd say 61.
Okay, sorry. Since the very late 50s. Some call them the 60s. But do you know what I mean? They are trying desperately to win a trophy. Yeah. They haven't won a trophy since, 2009? The Carling Cup?
I want to say
2008? Certainly the decade before last, not the teens. Anyway, whenever it was, they are trying to win a trophy for the first time in over a decade. Yeah. That's their aim at the moment. Man United's aim is to try to get back to being a top team that can win the Premier League and that can win the Champions League or can compete in these competitions for a sustained period of time. Conte is the man to bring in to win a trophy. They need that. Man United have brought in a manager that hopefully over the next 2 to 5 years will elevate the club, will sort of reintroduce the club to how it feels to be continually successful again. And that doesn't necessarily mean win the league every year, but putting challenges in, getting 80 plus points in the league and doing the same the season after. I think we've gone 2 different ways. We've sort of thought a bit more for the future, and Tottenham have thought a bit more for the now, because they need to win a trophy as fast as possible. And I absolutely wouldn't swap, Erik ten Hag for Conte. Conte is a very good manager, but I'm sick of watching, United sit back and defend and try and win games pragmatically like they did on Jose Mourinho. You can have that, Tottenham. I'd rather have a manager that's trying to play modern, progressive football.
Yeah, I think you make a good point. I think it's kind of moves that benefit and suit what both clubs are trying to do.
Yeah.
Spurs need that trophy, and I will still never get my head around the fact he sat Jose 5 days, whatever it was, before the League Cup final, just to give it right.
One of the managers with the best cup final record pretty much ever.
Yeah.
He was up there with Pep Guardiola for the best ever.
And then, we're going to get rid of him and bring in Ryan Mason, I think.
Yeah.
Who's never managed before at any level.
No.
But he can outwit Pep Guardiola, surely.
Yeah.
I mean, that was just like almost an act of sabotage. Conte, you'd think Conte, if you give him enough time, he's going to win something.
Yeah.
You would. And I think with Ten Hag, we need a bit more longevity. We need someone who's going to play a certain way and can, help nurture these youngsters. And Erik ten Hag has that reputation, and we're beginning to see it. So, yeah, I think it's one of those sort of situations where I agree with you, and we are going to speak to a Spurs fan later, but I think Spurs will be happy and we'll be happy. I don't think either of us would do any swapsies.
No.
Anyway, let's get into Predicted 11. These are the teams we think, or the team we think, Erik ten Hag will pick for the visit of Tottenham Hotspur. Joe, talk us through your team, my friend.
Yeah, so it's kind of the team that I'm being a little bit hopeful in a couple of areas here. That back five, I think at the moment, that's Ten Hag's back five. Malacia seems to have dropped out for sure at the moment.
What did you make of Shaw against Newcastle?
I thought he was pretty good.
Did you?
Did you not?
I thought in the first half he was a bit all over the gaff.
Yeah.
Second half, a bit more.
Yeah.
Like the player that I want to see.
Yeah, I think he's definitely better than he was last season. already. But we need to see him keep staying at that level and defending properly rather than, like you said, being a bit all over the place.
Yeah.
That midfield three, which I think is our best midfield three when they're all available. Like I said, I've taken a bit of a risk bringing Eriksen back in because I'm not 100% sure of his fitness.
Illness, I think,
illness.
was the reason.
So what's, I don't know what that is. That could be numerous different things.
If he's had the man flu I've had, then he won't be fit.
That's what I mean. Whereas if it's got food poisoning, he'll be fine.
Yeah.
Or he might be fine. So yeah, I've gone with that midfield slightly hopefully, but I think he'll want Eriksen back as soon as possible. Then again, the front three, slightly hopeful. There were some rumours that Martial wasn't that far off the game against Newcastle. So hopefully with 2 or 3 more days training, Martial can come back in for the Tottenham game. Again, that might not be the case, but this is the team that I think if these players are fit, then I think Ten Hag will go with this because Ronaldo, like you said, you can say that he did put that header in the back of the net that Rashford missed, but why are no chances falling to Ronaldo ever? And loads are falling to Rashford.
Yeah.
Some of it that he's getting marked, etc. But some of it is that he can't make chances for himself anymore. He can't knock the ball away from someone, find space and put the ball in the back of the net. I want someone that can, and Martial can do that. Again, Anthony, no contest on the right-hand side at the minute, and Rashford, I think he's performing better than Jadon Sancho.
There was an issue with Anthony's thigh, I noticed, against Newcastle. I don't know if it picked up on the cameras, but he looked like he was getting treatment. He kept coming onto the sidelines, get treatment. It looked like there was a slight issue there against Ammonia as well. He was holding it a little bit. I hope it isn't becoming a thing because I've really been impressed with Anthony, and I think he's a massive threat. And I also think that Anthony and Rashford on the sort of wide positions works well.
Yeah.
I understand completely where you're coming from with that. Yes, there's ifs and buts and maybes. Does he say, McTominay's back now from his suspension, throw him in?
You know what they say, Jay? If ifs and buts were candy and nuts, we'd all have a jolly good Christmas.
Well said. I tell that to my children every Christmas. Let's have a look at my predicted 11 because I think is it the same?
No, you've got Ronaldo in there.
I've gone with Ronaldo purely based on the fact that I'm not sure how ready
Anthony
Martial is. Also, are we highlighting Christian Eriksen there? Yeah. Christian Eriksen is another one who, is ill. Is he fit enough? Can he come straight in? We missed him against Newcastle. We're so reliant on Christian Eriksen, it's almost ridiculous. You saw it against Ammonia, where we had to bring him on. We just had to get that goal. So listen, you might not be fully fit. Martial might be fit, you might be right. But I think that if everyone is available who we think, apart from Martial, that's the team I expect. I don't know with Martial. I feel that because of what happened at Goodison, he might be a little bit overcautious with him.
But then the problem with that is that he came in and got injured against Liverpool after the back of an injury. He came in against Everton and got injured off the back of an injury. Like, some of it is like, these aren't even the same injuries.
No.
You can't, none of them have been recurring.
No.
It's just back injury, calf injury, hip injury, like whatever it is. So part of you thinks the only way he's going to stay fit is by getting fit. And the only way he can get fit is by training and playing football matches. So it's a proper catch-22 with Martial.
Do you know what? I always I know he's done it before, but it always worries me when you see this thing of like they're injured in the warm-up. And you think, as a manager, when you've set up, you've done your tactics for the week, you've obviously gone through how you want to play. He's so important to that.
Yeah.
And then you see the warm-up and he starts hobbling.
It's a
and
backward
you must
step for the
be
whole
Eriksen,
team,
if you had air, would be ripping it out.
Yeah.
It's like, how am I meant to do this? Yeah. Right, let's move on to the opposition. We caught up with Ricky from The Last Word on Spurs. Here's what he had to say about his team's chances.
Hi, Ricky. How you doing, mate? You all right?
I'm not bad, guys. You?
Yeah, good. Thank you. How are you doing, Jay?
Yeah, I'm all right, man. I'm excited. It's a big game, this, isn't it?
Very big game. Let's just get straight into it then. Tottenham Hotspur, obviously doing well this season, look to be improved under Conte. Just describe the type of team that Tottenham are now, because it seems as though the Pochettino team was one thing, the Jose team was another. What is Tottenham Hotspur at the moment?
Guys, I'm still trying to figure that out for the last 20, 25 years. In all honesty, I think we are kind of now seen, I think from the outside looking in, as a counter-attacking side that break with obviously real fast-paced players, and we've got real technical, decent players in the middle of that midfield. I'd be lying if I said to you I know exactly what our identity is. I think under Conte, we're still trying to find our way. Having said that, I think the football has improved over the last couple of weeks, but I think Spurs fans in general, and I'd like to speak to everybody, but I think we all just want to see a progressive brand of football. But I think we're at a point now, as you boys know, that we haven't won anything for a long time. Not that we need reminding. and we're desperate to win. So I think now for Spurs, it's just about seeing can we get over that line, and maybe the football being secondary as the element of being entertained. I think you guys have known for the amount of years we've gone to Old Trafford, we've always liked to come with a bit of flair and swagger and get heavily beaten under Sir Alex Ferguson. So if I'm being honest with you guys, I think we're willing to accept a more pragmatic style of football in order to get results. And I think that's currently where we're at the moment. And I think the table represents the good start we've made under Conte, even though it's not been the most probably entertaining watch on the eye.
Whenever I think of Spurs, I obviously think of players like Heung-min Son and Harry Kane. Those are the two obviously standout players. And the players as a United fan I always fear as well. I'm always worried about those two because I know exactly what they're capable of, obviously scoring loads of goals. But is there anyone this season that's impressed you that perhaps United fans won't be as aware of, who's done a good job for Spurs under Conte?
Yeah, really good player. Just a shame we haven't seen more of him than what I can obviously talk about today, and that's Dejan Kulusevski. I think technically the Swede is so impressive. He can be playing with both feet. Obviously, he's been out for a period. We're hoping we should have him back for when he's not up at Old Trafford because of the injury to Richarlison, who, again, I've been really impressed with him. I think a lot of people, from what I've seen, a lot of Twitter accounts, social media accounts, taken out of context, obviously, the lack of goals he's had for his game. But Richarlison offers so much more than that. He's a real domineering fact in the fact that he offers you real presence. And as a forward, he can play across the front three, work so hard for the team, ever so committed. And it made me realise why Everton fans were absolutely gutted to lose him in the summer. And he just works ever so hard. I think him and Kulusevski have been pivotal at Spurs this season. Of course, Harry Kane has, again, come up trumps with the goals that he's scored so far. Højbjerg at the moment, I think he's averaging something ridiculous. I mean, in terms of he's scored 2 goals, 3 assists in his last 4 or 5 games at home with us. He's looking really impressive. And Bentancur in the middle, again, for you guys that might not be aware, watching him every week, really technically good Serie A player who's come over here. They looks like he's played in the Premier League for years. So, and Romero, I must mention, of course, centre defence. I think he's going to be a really one of the top defenders in the years to come. I know I'm bigging this team up, but it's a really good individual.
Plenty of
I'm about to say, it's like got 15 top players there. I'm a bit worried now.
Yeah.
Well, especially when we get battered, I will be worried after this.
Yeah. Are you a fan of? Obviously, you're a fan of winning games under Conte, but obviously, so far that's not turned into trophies. Do you think that he's because there was always this thing of United missed out on Conte because he went to Tottenham, and a lot of United fans don't think that anymore because of Ten Hag and what he's doing. But do you feel like you sort of won that trade? Do you feel like Conte's the better manager, or do you kind of think, well, Ten Hag tends to stick at clubs a bit longer? How do you, as a Tottenham fan, think about the fact that you got Conte after not getting Ten Hag, and we got Ten Hag? How do you feel about the sort of dynamic of that?
Well, only from what I'm led to believe, Ten Hag failed the interview at Tottenham. They didn't feel he was quite good in the way he came across and what he tried to approach, and Spurs just felt it wasn't the right fit. I think if you look at last season, had Spurs not gone for Conte, we were heading nowhere under Nuno, bless him. It looked like he would be close to going back to Wolves. But that change has enabled Tottenham to get back into the Champions League. And quite frankly, you saw that in our last couple of appointments, Mourinho and Nuno, we just haven't found the right way. Conte has come in, transformed the football club. I think we've now accumulated, only less than 50 in terms of points since Conte's arrival at the football club. So I think that tells you everything in terms of how Spurs have gone in and got results. I think ultimately now what we all want is trophies. I think that's what we're craving out for. And I think as Spurs fans, there's no divine right. There's 4 competitions. Arguably the Premier League and the Champions League are the hardest to win. You then got the domestic cup. But I think with Tottenham really now, can they find a way and get into a trophy and sustaining top 4? I think that's what the club would want. And to answer the question very, very clearly, absolutely happy with Antonio Conte. Yes, I'd like to see a bit more pleasing football, probably on the eye, but I'm willing to sacrifice that for trophies.
Just on the other side, I was asking you earlier about players that United fans should be, maybe be wary of that we might not always think of when it comes to the Spurs side. Are there any players in this United side that you look at and sort of make you feel nervous, make you worry from a United point of view?
Well, I'd like to look at Anthony. I think, again, like I say, he's got a couple of goals to begin with. But I look at United's team across the park. There's some wonderful individuals there. Similar to Tottenham, great set of individuals. Putting them in together as a team has been the challenge so far. I mean, Eriksen's a player that I've lauded for so many years. I think he was so underrated for what he did at Tottenham. And I think now, having him at United, you probably get now why there was such a fanfare about Eriksen. when he was at Tottenham, because the way he dictates play, the way he just passes to his teammates, it's such an underrated skill, but you find players so hard to do that. And he does really run games. And I think with Eriksen there, he'll want to prove a point. I mean, there wasn't, from what I was being told, initial contact with Tottenham in the summer. Spurs didn't actually go back to Eriksen with a formal offer, which probably made his decision a lot more easier. Bearing in mind, United are still a huge football club and probably a club that he never thought he was going to be approached at in his career. So I think I'll say to Eriksen, it's a tremendous move. I think it's an opportunity for him to shine on one of the bigger stages. I know my clubs. I know respect for the clubs. United are still one of the best clubs in the world. Don't let the league position tell you otherwise at the moment. And I'm glad for Eriksen he's getting the opportunity to perform in front of great fans that will idolise him for the wonderful footballer he is.
Yeah, I've been really impressed with Eriksen. I think you nailed it. I don't think I appreciated just how good he was when he was at Spurs and to a lesser degree. But watching him week in, week out, he's just different class. Yeah. He really is. He's a joy to watch.
Just him. He's changed Man United's midfield completely. Quickly then, before you go, give us a quick score prediction.
I actually hate doing this on a opposing channel. I go into this game with hope, which is probably not a good thing for Spurs fans, given our pretty much horrendous record at Old Trafford. I mean, it's 3 or 4 wins in the last 40 or 50 days. It's not a happy hunting ground for us. But having said that, despite Ronaldo doing his last year Ronaldo masterclass, I do feel confident going into the game, purely on the basis that Spurs under Conte, I feel anywhere we go now, we do feel like we can get a result. We got a result earlier this season at Stamford Bridge. Yes, unfortunately, the result after the Emirates wasn't what we wanted. But I'll go for a 1-1, guys. I feel confident enough, bearing in mind Newcastle split at the weekend, that Spurs can grab something up at Old Trafford. And if you ask me for a point, if you offer me a point now, I would snatch your arm off for it.
Very good. Thanks very much for coming on, mate. And make sure you check out the last word on Spurs as well. Link to them is in the description. Cheers for coming on, Ricky. Thank you very much.
Thanks, mate.
Right, so let's have a look at our BetMate teams. Now, this show is sponsored by BetMate. BetMate is a fantasy football app where you play against other players in your pot. And if your team is better than theirs, you win cash, Jay. It's that simple.
Cash.
Do you know what I mean?
Money.
Cash Wonga, yeah? And there's so many fixtures this week. To kick things off, we've got Manchester United versus Tottenham pot, yeah?
Yes.
That's what we're in. If you want to come and play against me and Jay, show me and Jay a thing or two about fantasy football, make sure you join our pot and use the code Paddock5 when you sign up for £5 in free bets when you enter any paid pot. So come and join the one for us, and you also get £5 in free bets as well. Use the code Paddock5. The link is in the description for them. Jay, you put your team together. You think you're a bit tasty on BetMate? Well, prove it by showing me your team. And seeing what happens, mate. See what happens.
I will step up to the podium here.
Oh, 2 Tottenham players. I'm scared to be a Man United fan.
Well, if you just scroll there, I think there's some Harry Kane stats that I'll get into.
Is there?
Yeah, Harry Kane's average, his 5-game average on BetMate is 8.2 points. Yeah, you get points obviously for goals and assists and stuff like that. So Harry Kane is a very useful player when it comes to the BetMate stuff. Also, you do get points for things like interceptions and tackles. So I don't know. I just feel like with someone like Maines, he gets involved, doesn't he? He likes to stick a foot in. Also, Bruno's not scared of a tackle as well. Bruno can give you, a multitude of points.
Bruno Fernandes had 7 ball recoveries against Newcastle, which was the second most in Man United's team.
Better than the win.
Yeah, me too.
I'd rather have a player who's got 7 ball recoveries.
You've recovered a few balls in your time, haven't you?
I have, off the back of the bike sheds. I think that is better than winning. 7 ball recoveries. That's what gets me out of bed in the morning. Also, I've gone with Anthony. Love him. Great player. Entertaining. Below, another player that's sort of, silenced a lot of his critics this season. I've gone with Lloris.
Can I ask you a question, Jay?
Go on.
Do you think we'll beat Tottenham?
Yes.
Okay, so why have you put their goal in and not United's?
Because, right,
we think it will win, but he'll score a couple penalties?
Yeah. I think we'll win and he'll get an assist.
Nice.
Yeah?
To be fair, Lloris is more likely to get an assist than De Gea.
Yeah.
But it's not happening, is it?
No.
What made you pick him?
I picked him because I ran out of United players. I had to mix it up a bit. You can only have 6 United players.
And you've got...
And I've got 6.
You've got 5 in your starting lineup.
No, but you can only have 6 in your squad, and I've got Marcus on the bench.
Yeah, but why? Yeah. But the bench players don't get you any points.
Right.
So,
but I like my bench to look
why?
diverse.
Yeah. Right. Okay.
Yeah.
In terms of kit.
Yeah.
Okay, very interesting.
Or ethnic background if you want.
Yeah.
It's a very diverse
those
group.
3 Tottenham players on the bench are all white.
Exactly. Okay. And do you know what I mean? I don't want to be accused of anything. So, bit more cosmopolitan, throw in Marcus Rashford. Yeah. There you go. I'm not racist.
Great. Really great point there. I personally am a Manchester United fan, unlike Jay. So my team has got the full quota of 6 Manchester United players I think will win. Yeah. So I've put De Gea in there.
Okay.
And, you know, I think that other than that, you've done all right. But I put Son in instead of Kane.
Why?
Kane typically struggles against Man United. He hasn't got a great record by his standards.
Right, okay.
Not that Son has.
Yeah.
But I just feel like the pacing behind, if we're going to get caught, you might see sort of Son whipping in behind.
You might see Son falling to the floor holding his face because Scott McTominay's touched it.
Yeah.
Absolutely pathetic.
I've gone with De Gea, obviously. Like I said, I'm a Man United fan. I think we'll win, so I've picked the goalie that will concede the least goals, therefore, you know, lose the least points. I can't see any other way to do it. And I've gone with Martinez, Dalot, Fernandes, Casemiro, and Rashford again because, you know, I wouldn't put him on the bench. I think he's going to score, so I've put him in the starting lineup. But obviously, if you want to put him on the bench, put him on the bench.
Listen, Marcus knows I love him. He'll be all right with being on my bench.
Make sure you use the code Paddock5 for £5 in free bets when you sign up and enter any paid pot. Come and join our pot.
Join our pot,
Beat Jay, beat me, win some cash, and get a bit of bragging rights in the process. You know what I mean?
Go on, beat me. Beat me with a big stick. Right, with all that being said, let's get into our score predictions.
Well, do you want to go first? Presumably you think Tottenham are going to win.
No, I don't.
Put their goal
I think there will be a plethora of goals, but Manchester United will win.
Oh,
yeah?
That's weird.
I just think Hugo Lloris, or whatever his name is, will get an assist.
Okay, yeah, fair.
So he will get more points than
And
David
I think
De Gea.
he takes free kicks for them as well and penalties, doesn't he? Kane doesn't do that.
No.
It's Lloris.
Lloris.
Takes corners as well.
He takes corners and writes the theme tune. So I'm going to go with Lloris. That's why.
The score's going to be?
I think the score will be 4-3 to Manchester United. Yeah? With Lloris getting a couple of assists.
Lloris getting a couple of those goals. 4-3 United. Do you actually think that, or are you just scared?
No, I'll go, why not 4-3?
4-3?
Yeah.
I think United will win. I think Tottenham are too difficult to score against for it to be a 7-goal thriller. But then again, who'd have thought we'd 9 goals in the City game? I'm going to go with a
9-goal thriller.
1-0 win to Manchester United.
I'll say that.
Tight, cagey, delicious.
I almost feel, right, like this season, I don't know, I'm beginning to worry, like, about top 4 and whether this season is just the transitional season that we're going to have. Do you know what I mean? Because you feel like we're looking at other teams and going, oh, sooner or later, Arsenal will implode eventually.
Yeah.
And, you know, Spurs won't do what they did last season. And Chelsea have got Potter in, and that's not going to work out for him. And I just think it could be this season where we're just, like, getting used to Ten Hag's football, having a few iffy results like we did against Newcastle, not to mention, you know, some of the earlier ones in the season, and we end up, like, 5th or 6th. Yeah. I do worry about that. My main sort of concern with that is I can stomach that if I think there's progression there. And I do think there's progression on this manager. I hope fans and more importantly the board don't turn against him if we do finish outside the top 4 this season, because I think he's the right man for the job.
Yeah, me too. Well said. Right, that's going to be all from us, isn't it?
It is. Don't forget to check out BetMate. The code is Paddock5. Also, go and have a look at the last word on Spurs. Big thanks to Ricky for joining us on that one.
Cheers,
Great to hear from him. You know where to find Joe Smith at the Sloppy Joe's podcast. Also on your socials, Joe Smith 93.
Correct.
Thank you. And you can find me, Jay Motti, everywhere, including in your garden, looking through your curtains. So make sure you're checking me out. Don't forget
Sniffing
as well.
you washing on the line and that.
Listen, everyone needs a hobby. Yeah? Don't forget as well to hit like, share, and subscribe. We want to get to 700,000 subscribers by Christmas. And with your help, we can do it. This has been the Spurs Preview. Thanks for watching.